Welcome back, Defenders. Today, we're going to start by following up on the bridge attack. The Kremlin has confirmed there was an explosion at Russia's Crimean bridge caused by Ukraine, but they're claiming there was no damage. And this is a photograph clearly showing some damage. Ukraine also has the security cam video under the bridge showing the explosion. I'm going to slow it down once again to 0.25, and we do have some additional details now. And apparently this went off at 4:44 in the morning, and Ukraine deliberately launched drones at the bridge that they knew were going to be shot down to close the bridge. Ukraine was being considerate of civilian deaths. They didn't want any civilian cars passing over the archway in the event the bridge collapsed. So Ukraine attempted to save some lives while bringing down this bridge. In my last video, I said maybe the bridge didn't collapse because the water absorbed most of the shockwave, and people in the comments section who know more than I do said that's not how that works. The water actually compounds the explosive power. Because water is more dense than air, having the explosion go off next to the column underwater actually made the blast more powerful against the concrete reinforcements underneath. What's the damage? And we don't know. Russia didn't do a proper survey before reopening the bridge. The propaganda of the bridge is fine, Ukraine can't destroy this bridge, is more important than the actual safety of civilians driving over this bridge. We don't know what the damage is. Russia doesn't even know what the damage is, but they're going to pretend like nothing is wrong, and they're going to continue letting trucks and cars drive over this archway. And with bridges, with large structures, if there's a crack, if there's a tiny bit of damage, the vibration from trucks and cars going over this bridge all day, every day, just will make the cracks worse. So this bridge could potentially collapse out of nowhere any day, any week, maybe next month, if there is structural damage underneath, which we don't know. Additionally, how did Ukraine do this? There's speculation that an underwater drone delivered the 1,100 kilograms of explosives that were then triggered to go off. But does Russia have a counter to this, or is Ukraine just going to do the exact same thing next week? Maybe targeting a different column underneath the archway. I'm actually optimistic this bridge is coming down. I think Ukraine has the secret recipe or the secret tech to make this happen, and they're going to take another shot at it. They're going to keep taking shots at it until the archway collapses. Okay, this is what we've been waiting 3 days for. Ukraine's intelligence releases exclusive footage of Operation Spiderweb targeting Russia's strategic aircraft. The entire video is available on YouTube. I'll link this down below if you want to watch the whole thing. And Ukraine's intelligence initially released some of the drone video, about a minute and a half, but now they've compiled the rest of it, and this is another 4 minutes and 40 seconds of these drones slamming into Russia's strategic bombers. Now, what we're learning is that these drones had Russian SIM cards inside, and all of the visual data was being transmitted to satellites and being sent back to Ukraine. That's how we have the footage. Additionally, there were humans in Ukraine, drone operators flying these drones, but if the signal was lost, there was an AI backup. So human operators were initially flying the drones. There is a delay, there is a lag, which is why the drones are shaky. But if the drones lost their communication link, then some kind of AI programming took over. There is one section of the video we're going to watch together because I think this is important. The entire thing is fantastic. But there was speculation about these A-50s that were hits. These A-50s did take damage. And unfortunately, these were not operational A-50s, I don't believe. Russia, or the Soviets, made about 10 of these planes. Only about 5 of them were operational going back 3 or 4 years because Russia was cannibalizing parts from some of the planes to keep the others still flying. So from this drone video, we can see that the engines from this A-50 have been removed, and this radar is pretty rusted. So these are the decommissioned or not used A-50s that have just been cannibalized for parts. But Ukraine still struck them. They damaged the radars. This is the most sensitive and important piece of equipment for the plane, and it's still a win. Russia cannot restore these, and now Russia can't cannibalize these to keep their other A-50s going. We also learned from the drone video that these planes were hot. They had munitions under the wings. So these planes were fully fueled and loaded with cruise missiles because they were going to fly that night to launch a massive strike against Ukraine. So how much damage a plane took when being struck with one of these FPV drones, it depended on were there munitions under the wing and was the plane fully fueled. This is an important detail because this is the clearest demonstration that this was self-defense. These planes were about to launch cruise missiles against Ukrainian civilian cities, and Ukraine destroyed these planes hours before they were scheduled to take off. Additionally, from the drone video, we've learned that a lot of these planes now have holes in them. They didn't burn to the ground, they didn't ignite, maybe the fuel tanks weren't hit or there wasn't munitions underneath. But from this drone video, you can see there's a hole right there in the fuselage where the pilots are supposed to be. If there's a hole in your plane, you don't really have a plane anymore. It can't safely fly or operate. And to repair the fuselage, to repair these holes, that's going to take time and that's going to take money. Here's another photograph. Once again, the plane is covered in tires to protect it, but potentially this plane had been sitting there for a while. It wasn't being actively used, but Ukraine still struck it, punched a hole in it, and Russia can't quickly use it again. Here are the high-resolution satellite images, and somebody in the comments section explained to me why it takes potentially 3 days. These private companies with satellites in orbit, they don't go over everything every single day. They have a special flight pattern where potentially flying over Russia, they only do it once every 3 or 4 days. It's not because of cloud cover, which can still happen, but we now have the high-resolution images, and I don't think that's going to buff out. I don't think this plane is going to be flying next week. Here's another one. This is the Belya Air Base in Murmansk. These are planes that have completely disintegrated, once again, if the fuel tanks were full or if they had cruise missiles underneath. And because it's been 48 hours since these pictures were taken, you can see Russia's already trying to clean up the debris and hide the damage. Here are the satellite images. This is the before and after for Belya. This is the before, and then this is the after. Where these drones struck, the grass caught fire, so you can see wherever there's a... We'll go back. This is the before, and this is the after. This plane took damage. These planes might have taken damage. This plane is completely gone. This plane is completely gone. Here's the before, and here's the after. Gone, gone, gone. Wow. Here's the before. If you want to pause it or rewind, you can zoom in on your phone if you're watching on your phone. And there's the after. Gone, gone. Maybe these were potentially damaged. This is a disaster. Here's another satellite image, this time at the Olenia Air Base. Once again, there were Mi-24 helicopters parked outside. Here's a Tu-160, but these are all the destroyed Tu-95s, and then a transport plane, the AN-12. Completely disintegrated. This is fantastic. Do you need to see more? This is making me very happy. Okay, let's keep moving, guys. This is important. Confirmed losses of Russian aircraft mount after Ukrainian drone assault. So now that we have the high-resolution satellite images, in addition to all the drone video that Ukraine's intelligence has released, experts are trying to tally up and confirm How many of these strategic bombers did Russia actually lose? And confirmed, either damaged or destroyed, 2 A-50s, 14 Tu-22s, 10 to 12 Tu-95s, the 1 AN-12, and then 1 Aleutian 76. It's visually confirmed. Between 28 and 30 aircraft damaged or destroyed. What is the financial cost? And yes, it's in the billions. It's more than the initial assessment of 2.2. I don't know if it's 7. It's somewhere around 4, 5, or 6, but I don't think Russia is going to be honest how much it's going to cost to repair these planes, when really these planes are priceless. Russia can't just pay someone to replace them. They don't have the facilities. They don't have the factories to produce new bombers. This is a huge defeat. This is the headline. Ukrainian spies incinerate Russian aircraft that have fired 2,837 missiles at civilian cities. This is what a Russian Tu-95 did to an apartment building with a Kh-101 missile, killing civilians. This is what a Russian bomber, a Tu-22, did with a Kh-22 missile, blowing up an apartment building, killing civilians. This was an act of self-defense. Russia deserved this in every way. And Russia would still have $7 billion worth of strategic bombers if they had just agreed to a ceasefire. Ukraine offered one almost 3 months ago, and Zelensky said if Russia had agreed to a ceasefire, they wouldn't have executed Operation Spiderweb. Even without a ceasefire, Zelensky is ready to meet Putin. Zelensky wants a face-to-face to find peace, to come to some kind of agreement. And Putin's never going to do it, because Putin doesn't want to legitimize Ukraine. In the eyes of the Kremlin, Ukraine is not a sovereign nation. It doesn't exist. It's a fake country with a made-up cultural identity that will be Russified eventually. That is the final position of the Kremlin. So Zelensky's going to keep calling for ceasefires, keep calling for meetings, because Russia has no real response. Putin accuses Ukraine of wanting a ceasefire to rearm and prepare for terrorist attacks. Putin disappeared for 3 days. He does this whenever something embarrassing or tragic happens to Russia. He's not really a true leader of the people. When there's a crisis in your nation, normal leaders get on television and they comfort and console their people. But Putin for 26 years has never done that. So Putin disappeared and laid low for 72 hours, and then either Putin or AI Putin released this video. And this is why he's not agreeing to a ceasefire and not agreeing to direct talks with Ukraine, leader to leader. But how can such meetings even be held under these circumstances? What is there to talk about? Who negotiates with those who bet on terror, with terrorists? And what are they being rewarded for by granting them a pause in hostilities? A pause that will be used to reinforce the regime with Western weapons, to continue forced mobilization, and to prepare further terrorist acts like those carried out in Bryansk and Kursk regions. Russia is giving the finger to the entire world. This is President Zelensky's response to Putin's threats. Putin doesn't want to talk. He doesn't want to end this war. He doesn't want a ceasefire. He wants to continue killing millions of people until he has the old borders back of the Soviet Union or the Russian Empire. There's only one way to make this war stop, and it's by militarily defeating Russia on the battlefield. So Russia is mad that Ukraine continues to choose to fight back. So Putin got on the phone to his best friend Donald Trump because he needed a shoulder to cry on. Dear Donald, they attacked my planes, the ones I used to bomb their civilians. How could they? And this is where it gets stupid. Putin tells Trump in phone call he will retaliate recent Spiderweb drone operation on Russian airfields. Putin called Trump, and then Trump put out this stupid tweet. He then deleted it, and you'll see why. I just finished speaking by telephone with President Vladimir Putin of Russia. The call lasted approximately 1 hour and 15 minutes. We discussed the attack on Russia's docked airplanes. Airplanes don't dock, ships dock, by Ukraine, and also various other attacks that have been taking place by both sides. Trump is equivocating, saying once again both sides are at fault for this war. It was a good conversation, but not a conversation that will lead to immediate peace. President Putin did say, and very strongly, that he will have to respond to the recent attack on the airfields. Trump then wastes time talking about Iran. But did you push back at all, Trump? Did you say, Vladimir, stop? Did you threaten sanctions? Did you threaten increased military aid to Ukraine if Putin escalates? Why is it that only Ukraine can escalate, but everything that Russia does gets a free pass from the President of the United States? This was such an incredibly weak and limp tweet. Even Donald Trump recognized it about an hour after he posted it, and then he deleted it. Trump is scared. He has no plan. He never had a plan. He assumed that when he got into office, he could just give Putin the best deal imaginable. He was going to say to the Russians, I'll recognize Crimea as being your territory. You can keep all the territory you've taken. I will unfreeze all your frozen assets. I will lift all sanctions, and I will normalize relations. The only thing you have to do, Putin, is say this war was Joe Biden's fault, thank me for being a brilliant peace negotiator, and then stop killing people. And Putin wasn't willing to do it. And Trump is now realizing it. And he is freaking out. Because Putin is a mass murderer with 6,000 nuclear warheads. And this is now Donald Trump's problem. A problem that's not going to go away for the rest of Trump's term as presidency unless he finds a way to help Ukraine defeat Russia on the battlefield. There's only one solution here, and Trump has tried literally every other option aside from the most obvious one. Trump today also is a bit distracted because the MAGA Civil War has arrived. I told you guys in my question and answer video that this wasn't even going to last 6 months. Donald Trump and Elon Musk have always kind of hated each other, and they're such huge narcissists that this alliance was never going to last. And sure enough, Elon Musk has declared war on Donald Trump. Is it time to create a new political party in America that actually represents 80% of the middle? Mark this post for the future. The truth will come out. Time to drop the really big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, Donald J. Trump. Elon Musk just called Donald Trump a pedophile. Musk is on a tweet storm right now, attacking the big, beautiful bill and the tax cuts for the rich that Trump is trying to pass. And Trump, I guess, is hitting back. I mean, this is happening as I'm filming this video. I mean, I can refresh the page and see if he's said anything else in the last... Okay, yeah, Elon is now retweeting videos of Trump and Jeffrey Epstein together. The Trump tariffs will cause a recession in the second half of this year. I'm going to have to make a separate video talking about and analyzing this, but what does this mean for Russia and Ukraine? And this is good. Elon likes Russia. Donald Trump likes Russia. And now these two are fighting each other, which definitely is not going to help Russia. So I'm hoping there's an opportunity here. But I'll just share with you my theory and my prediction. What is Elon doing? And Elon has never liked Trump. And I think Elon Musk wants to get rid of Trump. Elon Musk is going to flip on Trump and try and take him down to the point where he's impeached or removed from office because of the 25th Amendment. And then J.D. Vance becomes president. Elon believes that J.D. Vance will be easier to control and more cooperative. Nobody likes J.D. Vance, which also would make him more dependent on Elon Musk. He doesn't have his own independent base of support. So this is Elon Musk's plan now. Get rid of Trump, have JD become president, and then once again, he gets to be the shadow president. This is a disaster for America, but especially for Tesla. Tesla stock is down 15% today. I think Elon's going to get fired by the Tesla board, probably in the next 2 or 3 months. There's no happy ending here, guys, for these idiots. They're corrupt. They're evil. They've been playing footsie with the Russians this entire time, and everything bad that happens to them, they both deserve it. And then Trump did this. Trump urges Senate to postpone vote on Russia's sanctions bill. This is according to Republican Senator Roger Wicker. But I don't think Congress is going to listen to Trump. I think Republicans in Congress are going to debate and then vote on this bill next week because there's nothing to wait for. There's not going to be a breakthrough in peace talks. There's not going to be a ceasefire. Russia has given their final answer that they're never going to stop. So Republicans in Congress are going to vote on this bill. The U.S. Embassy is warning Americans that a significant attack might be imminent. Does the President of the United States care if American citizens die? How many thousands of American citizens are on the ground in Ukraine trying to help right now? Their lives are at risk. Speaker Johnson, a couple days ago, did say that he is in favor of this sanctions bill, and if there's coordination with the Senate, they will schedule a vote. Senator Lindsey Graham is still tweeting every day that this sanctions bill is a win for Trump. It is clear to me that given Putin's behavior and refusal to be reasonable, the Senate will soon provide President Trump with more tools in his toolbox, and they will not be carrots. Same thing with Republican Brian Fitzpatrick. My sanctioning Russia act with Lindsey Graham will bring Putin's war machine to its knees, bankrupt its terror campaign, and send a message his history won't forget. Tyrants will crumble and freedom will always prevail. I know in the comments section, people are saying, what's the point of this sanctions bill? It won't do anything. And that's not the opinion of President Zelensky and his government. This is Brian Fitzpatrick meeting with Andrei Yermak. He's the head of the Office of the President of Ukraine. His head's over here. You can't really see him in the picture. And he's on Newsmax. Newsmax is a cable channel here in the United States that just puts out pro-Trump propaganda. And they invited Yermak on their channel to talk about the sanctions bill. And this is him, representing the government of Ukraine, saying they need and want this sanctions bill passed in Congress.
We are looking very much for the new sanctions. The strong, real strong sanctions against Russia.
Do they work?
Yes, I think it's work, of course. It's during the 3 years, we have the experience that the necessary some period of time, but it's definitely, I can say that it's work. And looking and now discussing the sanctions and the new bill of the Senator Graham, it's about the energy, it's about oil, it's about banks sectors. It's really painful and really effective sanctions because what Putin will recognize that he need to stop and to go for the serious negotiation, then he feel that it will be cost him real.
I know people are critical of sanctions, and they don't believe they do anything. But that's not what Ukraine believes. And that's not what the Russians believe. Because the Russians are always demanding that sanctions on their country be lifted. And this is a very interesting graphic from Newsmax. Newsmax, once again, is a pro-Trump cable news channel. And their graphic says, Putin's war on Ukraine, day 1195. That's kind of a telling graphic that the position of these pro-Trump cable news channels have already flipped on Russia. They're not being sympathetic. They're not repeating Kremlin propaganda. And they're having members of Ukraine's government on their channel. This is a big deal for here in the United States. So we are in a holding pattern because I think Russia wants to express their anger and what will be their response. And this is probably part of it. Russia decided to blow up the administrative headquarters for the city of Kherson. This is the main government building. It's not being actively used by anyone because it's always been a feared target. But Russia used aerial guided bombs to blow it up. They struck it the first time and the building didn't collapse. They waited about 8 or 9 hours and then they struck it again. Here is President Zelensky's comments. Kherson, the building of the regional state administration, Russian forces have completely destroyed it. 2 strikes with aerial bombs, deliberate strikes, not accidental. No military sense whatsoever. They are openly destroying life, absolutely deranged creatures. Force is needed to make them stop destroying and killing. Everyone in the world clearly sees who exactly has such force, yet still isn't using it for the sake of peace. Unfortunately, isn't using it. I thank everyone in the world who is helping change that and bring real security closer for our people. Here are thoughts once again from Ilya Ponomarenko. Yes, I know it would be easier for many if Ukraine just quietly surrendered and willingly jumped into Russia's execution pit with a bullet in the back of its head, without any dangerous escalations or rising risks or problematic threats to Russia's nuclear triad, so that the long-desired commercial opportunities with the Kremlin could finally commence. But sorry, that's not going to happen. Ukraine is never going to surrender, and Ukraine is never going to be defeated. Russia will collapse and de-evolve into civil war before Ukraine ever surrenders or is defeated. Ukraine needs more support. It's the only way to make these wars stop. So let's get to the bad news for Russia. Ukraine strikes first at Russian launchers, which were carrying 800-kilogram explosive missiles prepared to hit the capital city of Kyiv. These were Iskander ballistic missile launchers that were spotted in the Chernihiv region. Ukraine called in a drone strike, and they successfully took out these Iskander launchers. This is an alarming headline. Russia seeks to deploy 10,000 more troops to Moldova, the breakaway region of Transnistria, to interfere in their elections. And we've been pretty quiet about Transnistria. Going back 3 or 4 years, there were about 2,000 or 3,000 Russian troops stationed in this border region. And I don't really understand how these troops rotate in and out unless they just use the civilian airports in Moldova. But how do you get equipment in or out? Maybe Russia can sneak in 10,000 more troops, but what equipment and munitions are you going to give them? Russia doesn't have the material, and there's no logistics way to get trucks or tanks or armored vehicles or mortar rounds into Transnistria. For God's sakes, the Russians are using donkeys on the front lines. We get videos, occasionally, and this is the latest military-issued donkey being used by the Russian soldiers on the front lines.
Вот пока своими глазами не увидишь, не поверишь. Это ишак или осел? Осел. Как зовут позывной? Анзорик. Позывной Хандорик? Анзорик. Анзорик. Таскает мины нам. Красавчик.
Defeat Russia, and we save the donkeys. Couple pieces of economic news. Russian car sales plunged 27% year over year. Yeah, Russia's economy is doing bad, and people can't afford to purchase a brand new Lada. Not that you would want to. Russian diamond exports fall to a decade low. According to figures from the Kimberley process, a global certification scheme for rough diamonds, Russian exports dropped by 6% from last year, and they've fallen to their lowest figure since 2015. Your diamond exports are weak, Russia. They're weak. Let's get to the good news for Ukraine. The Netherlands announces new maritime security support package for Ukraine worth $456 million. Thank you so much, the fantastic Dutch. The UK is investing a record £350 million this year to increase the supply of drones to Ukraine. Their goal is to send 100,000 drones this year. Thank you so much to the fantastic Brits. Final clip for you is from friend of the channel, Zarina Zabriskie. She's an independent journalist on the ground in Ukraine, in the city of Kherson. And she went outside between these two hits on the Kherson Capitol building. So she got video footage before the building was entirely destroyed. So you're going to see in this clip what it looked like after the first strike.
Armageddon. Вот. А сегодня был утренний удар кабом. Ну, было взрывов несколько. Вчера вечером был удар сильный, а я боюсь тут уже и находиться, потому что тут страшно находиться в этом месте. Тут это, у меня уже окна, стены уже разбиты, блядь, 10 или 15 раз.
Continue supporting Ukraine. Russia will be defeated. That's all for this update video. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. If you found this video informative, give me a thumbs up. Best way to support the channel. Comments and questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, keep defending the truth, keep defending democracy.